Okay, I'd like to call the July 2nd, 2019 bid board meeting to order. First item on the agenda is we do have a quorum, and we need approval of minutes from June 4th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 1, financial report. Adam.
Morning.
Morning.
All right. So in your budget, you have $107,259 as your revised budget, an actual of $48,749.57. Total encumbrances as of June 24th, 2019 are $23,268.63. And that leaves you with an available of $35,240.80.
We have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, Blumen Holidays update. We have Lori Winters from MOA here to talk.
Hey, good morning, all.
Good morning.
Normally, Jessica Wild is presenting on the museum's behalf on issues of marketing, and she is fortunately on vacation today, so that leaves me. So I'm sorry you're kind of stuck with me, and I will be happy to answer any questions. She has been in front of the group twice already, presenting the project. I'd like to do just a very quick recap. So it's the second weekend, it's an expanded weekend of November. The idea is to kick off the holidays quite early in November. We are expanding this event in a larger scale. We've had such incredible success with Art and Chalk Fest that we really wanted to go into the off-season, into winter, and focus on an event that we could span in hopefully a significant way. There is a lot of attraction around the florals. It does draw already a significant crowd. We think that with new energy and working with the community at large, we could easily double or triple that. We feel there's that much potential. So with Blumen Holidays, we'd expand it starting to the Wednesday. It would run through Sunday night. We would do something unprecedented in the state, which automatically gets you a lot of attention with the media, and that is to do a media projection of florals unfolding on the side of the building. We've worked with Magic, and it's a lighting and sound company. They've looked at our building and said they can make this happen. So we're very excited about that. It's not cheap, as you can imagine, but we do feel that this is something that would garner a lot of attention and would draw people. Not only to the museum during the day, but we hope at night, as people would be driving by or coming to nighttime events. So we've talked with Adam briefly and Mike about doing a wine walk on either the Friday or Saturday night, starting at the museum and then going to all the businesses downtown. I know that Jessica has talked to a number of you about ways to incorporate the Main Street businesses. Some of those ideas include something sort of like what Milwaukee has, the Milwaukee Dining Week in downtown Milwaukee. And so you go from one business to another and there are discounts. So the wine event, I think, certainly would attract people. Should also talk to some of the businesses about doing florals in their shop. So essentially, the floral displays would continue beyond the museum, the walls of the museum, and would be spread throughout the community. That's another way to draw people in, which is a great idea. And then if we could do some sort of coupon with our handouts and our brochures, to do a discount at the restaurants or businesses that would drive people to the businesses through the holidays, not just that weekend, but in an extended way. And we would work with the businesses to tailor that so that it's meaningful for them. 80% of our attendance comes from outside of West Bend. You may not be aware of that, but that's huge. And for us, we attract from Milwaukee, Madison, those are our largest demographic areas, and that's pretty extraordinary. So we like people coming in, but we also realize that partnering with the community is so important because we realize once they've been to the museum that can be a limited stay. We want them to stay longer in the community and to enjoy our restaurants and to enjoy the downtown. So that benefits us, actually, to have, to give people another reason to come, not just to see the art at the museum, but if they can come because they know they can eat at a great restaurant, or they can shop on Main Street, or they could do some holiday shopping in advance, that actually just works for us too. It's a selling point. So this is a great synergy, I think, between us and the community, and we'd really like to expand that. So this would be an event, a wintertime event that I think has a lot of potential. We are asking you not to fund the marketing dollars, but to fund program cost. It's a significant jump in cost for us. It's about $33,000. And the money we would be asking for is to help fund some of those hard costs that you will see again and again, like the globe balls, for example. We plan to build our stock every year so that it becomes more significant. We're certainly open to ways of thinking about the globe balls with you and how we connect sort of visually through throughout the community. The first year we're projecting a purchase, with your help, of course, of 13 globe balls. The cost for the magic projection on the side of the building, that's on us because it's a one-time cost. So we're asking you to support the program and dollars to help make some of these other things possible. So that's it in a nutshell, but I'm very happy to take any questions you might have, and I suspect you probably have some.
How much of the, hi, how you doing? How much are the globe balls per?
They come in different sizes, so it depends. So the final size and dimension would depend, of course, on the dollars that we get. Let me say that they range from quite small to about a foot in diameter to, I think the more standard size is 3 feet in diameter, and then I think you can get them up to 4 feet in diameter. So that at that point, that's a pretty substantial piece.
Ballpark pricing?
Between $500 and $700 a piece.
Okay.
Depending on the size.
Okay. And have you seen an example of the projection?
No, I've seen online samples of projection, and we've been pretty clear with Magic about what we wanted the quality of the projection to be. And that's just, it's hugely expensive. We, looked for 10 seconds into the idea of, well, maybe we could buy our own equipment so we'd have it year after year. And the starting price of the equipment is just over $200,000. So yeah, a lot of the cost comes from their issues of security. It's the size of the equipment. They have to build a tent around it, so if it rains, the equipment is covered. It's and then there's security overnight. There might be some ways that we could defray the cost of the security, but it's a significantly costly enterprise.
Okay.
So what you're specifically looking for would be the decoration portion, not necessarily funding the event. So it wouldn't be like we were funding an event as much as funding the hard costs to be able to continue this event and build upon the event from a decoration perspective.
I look
going
at
forward.
I look at it as both. I mean, the program cost is something we have to bear, so we have to cover it one way or another. So, if you prefer your money goes to one thing over another, and I'm sure Jess, if she were here, she would be happy to make the bid a sponsor of the event. I know that in Milwaukee you see that fairly often, so bid district sponsoring something that promotes the community in a significant way. So,
Lori, what was the dollar amount again, please?
we are asking for $7,500. The cost of the event, which I think has been scaled up in a somewhat modest way, is just under $33,000.
What does the budget look like for something like this?
If you still have your handout from the previous meeting, honoraria for speakers is $2,000. Equipment rental for indoors, that's our screens and indoor projectors, $250. Broader rentals from cafe linens to tables, $1,100. Florist awards, $500. The exterior lighting display, which includes the globe balls, just right around $14,000. And artist stipend to make the projection, to create the projection, $1,500. And event marketing, $13,100.
So do we know how much of that exterior, which you said includes the globe balls, is the actual balls?
Well, it would depend on the size we ultimately go with. Obviously, I want bigger, showier ones, but they range between 500 and 700 in a generous size range.
Okay.
And we're hoping for 13.
Okay. One of the questions that was brought up at the past meeting was, and I know you and I talked about this, but we'll bring it up again just so that everybody can hear, was, is there a way to take some of these and kind of help? I know that the object is to try to have it around the museum. The question at the last meeting was, is there a way to use the bridge and maybe part of Vest Park or whatever, maybe that's down the future, but some way to build that connection to the Main Street to show, hey, there's more over here?
Sure. If we're able to do the 13, I know we definitely have targeted 5 for right in front of the building, but I would think out of that we could take 3 and put them into the Vest Park so that you're kind of moving into the, you sort of logically want to follow the lights, and hopefully that this will grow year after year, and we can expand on that. But short answer is yes.
Okay. You have that look on your face.
Well, I just because I'm new here, I just want to make sure I understand. So would the bid be more? Would be happier with the name sponsoring the event, or the name perhaps on a half a dozen of these globe balls provided by, like Christmas decorations? You said we can't really own anything.
Well, this is only me speaking. My personal opinion is I think it's easier for us to buy tangible assets that we donate back.
That's my feeling too, to be honest.
Involved in sponsoring
Okay.
an event, because I think if we get into sponsoring an event, we're going down a slippery slope of whose
Sets a
event
precedent.
do we sponsor and whose don't we sponsor.
Yeah, right.
That's one of my fears of saying we're sponsoring an event versus, unless it's an event that we take on our own, that's a different story. But if we would, I don't know, that's just my thought process.
How long would the globe stay up?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that question. We would start that weekend, the second weekend in November, and we would keep them up through the entire holiday season, which we all know now is late February. So I really like that idea. The winters are so dark and gloomy. I think anything you can do to brighten them is a good thing.
Well, it's interesting because we've looked every year at Christmas decorations, and multiple years globes have sort of come up in the conversation and whatnot. So I definitely think they'd be a nice addition to the downtown. It'd be nice if we could get more than 3 though on this side of the river.
Well, I guess that would depend on what level of support you feel you're able to do, and with the idea that it could grow. And maybe there is a way of thinking about, sort of what we're doing and what the downtown is doing, and maybe, in terms of decorations, there's a way to marry the two ideas. If you've said the globe balls have come up year after year, maybe that makes sense.
Where are these going to be stored the rest of the year?
Yeah, we have a storage facility that we work with here in West Bend. We rent pallets.
Okay.
So yeah, that's on us.
Would any of the globes be, are they all going to be outdoors? Or it's,
They would all be outdoors.
okay.
Yeah.
Anybody have any thoughts on?
I think it's fantastic. I think the fact that you're actually taking it on and that it's going to be around from November to February is awesome, and it's going to be a lightweight to the downtown, and I think the bid should support it in any way possible. I don't care how the name gets on it. I think it's great for the downtown big time, but also for the whole community.
Okay, thank you, Maggie.
Mm-hmm.
So we have, if I'm reading this right, we have 4,000 left in marketing budget? Is that right? And then we have,
No, you have spent 4,000, or we've paid out 4,000, and you currently have 11,435 in encumbrances, so you have 1,500 in that, what would be marketing, but implementation of downtown.
so we have 1,500 left.
1,500, we would pull from, anything above 1,500, we would pull from the funds for future projects. Funds for, fund for future projects, your bottom line item.
Well, or we could take, I mean, we can move this any way we want to move it,
You really can, yeah.
and there's no money right now being requested for the Riverwalk. And this is kind of part of the Riverwalk, right?
You mean out of the Riverwalk West donation?
Yeah.
I think that's been allocated, right?
No,
Or
that hasn't been allocated. That was put in case we were requested to do something this year.
Okay.
So I
Why-
don't know of any request at this point.
Why wouldn't we pull it from the fund for future projects?
It can come from either one. It doesn't, I guess it doesn't matter. If the Riverwalk donation doesn't happen, it's gonna go into that fund anyway, so I guess it's semantics. It can come from, the only reason I would say the future projects is we've kind of earmarked that specifically for either the Main Street or the Riverwalk. So I guess it could come out of either fund. It really wouldn't matter. It could also come out of the contingency account as well. So there's a multitude of places we could do it. I guess the question is, how much do we want to do? And then we could figure out where to get it from if we want to do it. But it sounds like we want to do it.
I would make a formal motion to support the full amount that they're asking for, $7,500. And I'll leave it up to you guys to figure out where you want to pull it from. But I'm making the motion.
We have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Further discussion before we. Wayne? Justice? Adam?
I mean, I was gonna suggest that we buy 10 globe balls, but that's vague because we don't know exactly how much they are per. So, I guess I could go along with that because they're looking for 13, right?
Looking for
Okay.
Well, one of the suggestions I'd make with, if we could amend the motion, would be to fund up to however many globe balls they can get for up to $7,500. So we're buying globe balls to get out of the potential of sponsoring an event. And it's semantics, but it keeps it clean on our end. And then we're giving them the $7,500 earmarked towards the balls themselves.
And we would make a commitment to spend beyond that, whatever it takes to get to that 13 number that we proposed. So you wouldn't have to feel like you've been cheated out of the balls, depending on the final cost. So we would just make a commitment to do the 13.
Okay.
Okay,
And
so
then-
I'll amend the motion for approval from the bid for up to $7,500 specifically to go towards the balls, the cost of the balls.
You resecond
I'll
it?
second that.
Okay. Then the other discussion is there was reference made to a wine walk. Do we need to talk about that under this, or?
If you'd like to, I'm currently in discussions with Mo about how to make a wine walk go alongside of the Blumen holidays in some way, and what will be the vessel for completing the wine walk. And with that, then any dollars raised, what is that going towards? Is it helping fund Blumen holidays in the future? Is our participation in some way helping some of that come back into the Riverwalk or downtown in some way? So all of those things are being worked out, but to get the bodies moving in and up along Main Street, 6th Ave, all throughout the bid, and also then into the Blumen Holidays event, just kind of working that out right now in the planning stages.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Good. Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you, Lori.
It'll be a wonderful event.
Next item is Big Brothers Big Sisters Mini Masters presentation and decision.
Good morning.
Morning.
I've got, I do have extra copies of the flyer, but I'm assuming you all have them. Either I dropped them off at your business or I gave them to you last time.
Actually, I'd like one because I lost mine and I've been trying to call you and I keep forgetting.
I've been out of town at our national conference for the last week and a half, so.
Okay, then I don't feel so bad.
I'm not downtown,
Thank you.
Oh, that would be kind of fun.
All right, so we talked about the event last time, a brief overview. We're working with the downtown businesses to create an event called Mini Golf Masters, where after the farmers market on August 3rd, we would have mini golf holes inside of businesses in downtown, with restaurants acting as water hazards and sand traps. To date, I have 7 businesses signed up, with 3 more with verbal commitments. And so it's been really, really well received thus far. With me being out of town last week, I think there's been a couple people who have tried to get a hold of us. So I have to check my voicemails when I get in the office this morning. And technically, I'm on vacation too. So our request is $1,000 of support. That will help us order 300 T-shirts with the course map printed on the back, which would include all of the businesses that are participating's logo. It would also help us to print the actual course maps. So at $4 a T-shirt, you're looking at about $700 on an expense on Big Brothers Big Sisters end. So that would really help us alleviate the cost as a nonprofit that has pretty small margins. So our request is that you just support us with a gift that would help make this event a success, and then market for our businesses as people kind of go into the community and talk about hopefully how amazing it was and how they're going to come back the next year.
Is the whole community invited to this, or just?
Yes,
The kids and-
absolutely.
okay.
The entire community is invited. We're also looking at, I have 3 nonprofits that have said yes to us too. And with the nonprofits, we have waived the registration fee. So hopefully we can allow people to have more access and understand not just what the businesses are doing, but what the nonprofits are doing, especially the ones that are downtown. And just kind of give people access and permission to walk into businesses that they haven't walked into before.
Jamie, I haven't officially signed up as a whole sponsor, but I definitely plan on reaching out. So
Okay.
It sounds like it's going to be a great event. But I do think, when Mike sort of alluded to it a little bit earlier, if we get into sponsoring events like this, especially one-day promotions with bid dollars, which are the taxpayers' dollars, it does open up a precedent, because there are a lot of great nonprofits located downtown that do a lot, and it definitely opens the door and sort of takes away from sort of what we're, a large focus of what we're trying to do, which is reinvest in the infrastructure and tangibles, I guess. And the other negative is we operate off of a budget, and while we do have a contingency built in, I definitely think we just ate into a big chunk of that. So I guess I don't know that this would be the best use of bid dollars.
I think when it comes to support, Big Brothers Big Sisters is actually not creating much revenue off of this. So when it comes to event, support, it more or less just kind of alleviates the cost and directly benefits those businesses more than it's actually benefiting Big Brothers Big Sisters. Compared to other events that we run where we're making $40,000, on a weekend, this is something where at the end of the day, I think I'll be pretty lucky if I've made $1,000. So this is directly looking at my neighbors business-wise, and looking at the other added benefit that we're kind of focusing on as a nonprofit is looking at big and little recruitment. The people that are going to stay at this event, we're hoping are families, and people that are either looking for support or have the ability to give support in time. And so it doesn't necessarily directly benefit Big Brothers Big Sisters. It more or less is a community building opportunity.
I absolutely agree with that, and that's why as a business owner, you'll definitely have my support.
Thank you.
I have one question and a couple comments as well. With the farmer's market, the road is closed. Is it open for this event then?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
So we've been working with the city of West Bend. We're not shutting anything down. And that's another reason why it's internal inside of these businesses too. So that's a little bit of a rain plan, and it means we don't have to look for any permits or anything like that.
And then my comment is, I like this event because they actually go into the business. They have to go in, I support the divas too, but they're not forced to go in, where in this case, they are, if they're participating. And it's for the kids. It's a community event. I like it.
Thanks.
It's $1,000.
Yeah.
We got it. It's my opinion.
Anybody else? So I'm kind of echoing Brian here. I just think that it's a slippery slope if we start doing events. But I also want to sign up as a business and participate, because I think it's a great event, and I think it can be a lot of fun and can build. But I just don't see that it's appropriate for the bid to be paying money for an event. I said that right away the minute I saw it. So,
we're actually buying something just like what we did with the globes. We're buying the T-shirts and the maps.
Except the globes and the globes we're going to have and continue to have going into the future. Where the T-shirts are going to be gone. I don't know. That's just my feeling. Where does it stop? I guess then you could have somebody trying to do a 5K and say, we want you to sponsor the T-shirts for the 5K. It's going to run through downtown and end up downtown, and go through the businesses or, whatever the case is. So I struggle with it. I hear what you're saying, but I don't feel that it's something we should do. But I'm only one.
No, I agree with Wayne. I think it's a great event, and if it's going towards the T-shirts as well, I feel it's on the same spectrum as what we just did with the MOA. And I just feel that the bid has the money right now, and nobody else is asking for it, and I don't see why we wouldn't support it.
I think it's a little bit different than a 5K too, in that 5Ks aren't involving the businesses. So for us, when I sat down with Laughing Mountain, for them, their margins are pretty tight, and they were concerned if they could afford it, and it felt like was something that they wanted to participate in. And as soon as we sat down and pulled up a Pinterest page of homemade mini golf holes, they were like, yes, okay, this is exactly what we need. This is where our marketing dollars should go, because of the ability to bring people inside.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to support the $1,000.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
How many events, I'm going to say of this nature, but it's a strange event, so it doesn't really apply, but how many events come before the bid in a year? Ballpark.
There haven't been any, but I'm starting to see a trend.
Okay.
I mean, we really haven't had many events come, but, we started with Diva, and then downtown tied on with Diva, and now we had MOA come in, and now we have this.
Okay.
So I think it's potentially growing.
I think the other thing to add, just looking at our budget, is having just purchased globes for MOA. Our available balance just dropped by $7,500, which puts us down to $2,800, $26,500, and we're one day through halfway through the year. So we got a ways to go still. Just something to think about. We operate off of $100,000 a year, so while $1,000 doesn't seem like a lot, that's 1% of our budget. So.
So we have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Turn my mic off. Next item is Christmas decorations. Adam, do you want to give a little update on what we...
Okay. So we got our proposals in yesterday for the Christmas decorations, and this was surrounding what if we went to an outside company and asked them to supply these, and then take them down, bring them in, set them up, and a lot of the conversation revolved around a large tree also in Old Settlers Park. I'll let Brian start. Brian helped out a lot, and thank you with meeting with, is it Temple?
Yep.
Temple Display, and you guys walked around downtown, and then I'd been in conversations with David J. Frank, so we can kind of go back, piggyback on each other on that one.
Yep.
Oh, right here is the Temple proposal then.
Yeah, and I'm going to pull it up on my phone so I can see a little better here. There we go. Yeah, so we walked through Settlers Park, and he took a photo and photoshopped this tree. It's a 20-foot LED tree. The base is 14 and a half feet in diameter. And basically, the installation was, there were two options on the installation. One was to use one of those concrete barricades that you would see along the interstate during construction, and you set that down. They run a bunch of anchor points into that construction barricade or concrete barricade, and then the tree essentially goes up in panels and uses counterweight to hold the panels in place. So it's a round frame, and the panels just sort of go up, and you end up with a tree that looks like that. That tree for the 26-foot tree, is on the bargain sale price of $15,000. That is for a one-time purchase. To install, take down, return to storage was an additional $4,000 per year for that tree. I also asked him for some other ideas as far as Christmas decorations based on, trying to freshen things up a little bit. He came up with these, they're called presidential snowflakes. Let's see, how many was this? With 75 of these little snowflakes, which are 3 feet in diameter, was $28,500. I'm gonna sort of skip the install and storage because everything was pretty high. But really like the 26-foot LED tree. I think it's cool. I think it's but it was big, or expensive, I should say. And then he quoted, he tried to separate things out sort of a la carte so that we could pick and choose on the next screen. And I got 2 different numbers. I didn't really understand the bottom 2 numbers, but upwards of $76,000. So, that last screen we talked about. If he were to just service our existing decorations, which included the sprays, the overhead swags, and the lighted deer, to install and take down was $24,500. So what this really means is we're really lucky to have somebody like Doug.
Doug, close your ears. Other than the part we're lucky to have you.
So, yeah, I guess, Adam, I'll let you talk about your conversations with David J. Frank.
Okay. So with David J. Frank, they sent over a proposal, and Juliana walked the downtown, came up with some ideas, and I still got the wrong one up on the screen. We'll just keep talking while Patty figures it out, I guess. So sprays on light poles, they were willing to do the bows and just keep it with the original spray and the bows, and that will come at a cost of $13,500. They have to rent the bucket trucks or the ladders, and their crews go out there. And if you do the 4 sways that go over Main Street, at the same time as the sprays, at the same time as a large Christmas tree, if it takes 1 or 2 days, it would just be, it's not a separate rental fee for each one. New bows on sprays, when they need to be serviced, would be, for 150 of them, would be $2,250. And then you have the option to add decor. Is there an ability to switch the picture on the screen? I think everyone's seen the old proposal. Oh, maybe if I just close out of it. Hey, there it is. All right. So you can take your sprays and do something like this, which this will be a little more interactive. There's a large tree. We'll talk about that in a second. But adding the berries and the wood and all of that would jump up from the $2,000 for 150 of them to over $8,000 for 150 of them. The 8,250. So that's for the sprays. The swags over Main Street, they would propose to install and remove them, and that would come at a cost of $1,200. And the deer, just for setting them up, taking them down in storage, would be $3,240. So then the tree, so a 16-foot artificial tree and live ones, anything over 15 feet needs to be anchored to 3 points. So you'd have to anchor to buildings and somewhere. I don't know if they have the same in.
Yeah, they're a little bit different. So there were two options. I only talked about the one because it seemed like the most practical. The other option was to basically cut a hole in the concrete at Sellers Park and dig a sort of a 6-foot deep hole or whatever they needed, and install anchor points down in the hole, which they would use in that one spot. So.
Okay, with David J. Frank, they do a custom base for the live trees, and then the anchor points for the artificial. So they don't necessarily need a hole. That would be a difference between those two. So for the artificial tree, they would want to do the labor for everything. When I asked about, well, what if we just go with you guys for the decorations and we do the labor? We can do that. It's just with the tree, for liability reasons, they need to do the labor. So the artificial tree comes pre-lit. You talk about what themes you want. You can do modern, traditional, mix them. She had talked a lot about turning Old Settlers Park into some sort of area that is Christmassy and something like a theme throughout. And then you'd buy the individual decorations, like the garland on the outside. If you would do something like that, that would still be a separate cost then. So you just keep piling it on. So if you go to the 24-foot artificial tree, that is this one on the screen. That would be the size, and you would decorate it how you want. If you look closely, I think they're branches, but they're meant to look like antlers. That's the Milwaukee Bucks tree. They partnered with them for that in downtown Milwaukee. So the benefit of the artificial tree is you're just paying for labor every year after, while with the live tree, you're buying a new tree every year. For a 16-foot live tree, it's $8,300. For a 20-foot live tree, it's $12,900. And for a 24-foot live tree is $18,975. The installation or the labor for each tree goes up the larger you go to your trees. So if you're spending $16,400 on an artificial tree that's 16 feet tall, your labor is going to be roughly $2,800. 20-foot tree is roughly $4,800, and a 24-foot artificial tree annual labor is roughly $7,500. We can leave it there if you guys want to discuss. Or you have any other?
Did you say that the anchoring was that 3 guide wires essentially?
Correct, and I do have a picture of that in this PDF that they sent, where you can, this is an indoor tree right here. You can kind of see them going out to the sides. With all the lights going on and everything happening downtown, I believe her when she says you're not really going to notice that.
Well, I mean, in this picture, it looks like they're anchoring maybe to the top, up on the wall somewhere, which that would definitely be a challenge in Sellers Park.
You're looking at a trip hazard is what you're talking
Well,
about.
if we were to follow that anchoring method, we'd be anchoring to Hussars, across the way and Idle Hour on the other side. But obviously, I'm sure there's a way that they would use ground wires. But if they use ground wires, that's going to take up all of Settlers Park and create sort of hazards, so to speak.
It did sound like they were going to go to the top, so you'd run over to Krill Camp, then you would go to probably Old Settlers Park, and then the building where Barton Inc. is probably.
Yeah.
So it's a long ways.
Yeah.
Where it goes.
The one nice thing about the other tree, and I should just say that style of tree, is there's one anchor point, and the anchor point is inside the tree. So there's no guide wires or anything like that.
They also create a base around the bottom of it. You can do what the Bucks did and do this metal railing base, but you can go as fancy as setting up maybe a Christmas train or something like that, but they don't want people stumbling at 2:30 in the morning into the tree and knocking it over, so they definitely barricade it off a little bit.
Well, I think it's absolutely gorgeous, but it kind of has sort of a Rockefeller Center effect to it, which Old Settlers Park is not. I mean, I like the idea of a larger tree, but not to the tune of $30,000 plus. Like, wow, for a Christmas tree. I feel like we could go to Stein Garden Center and buy a pre-done up tree for maybe a 10 or 12 foot tree for probably $1,000. This seems a little grandiose, although I'm totally in favor of doing something with lit trees in Old Settlers Park. I think that would be very beautiful for the downtown.
Not even thinking about money, there's something to be said for proportion. Yeah.
What if we ask them to come back with a proposal that doesn't look like Rockefeller Center?
I will be following up with them so I can provide everybody's feedback to them, and if they can adjust, and that's the feedback I
And
give.
then the other question I'd have is, what do they project the life of this to be? You know, we're going to buy an artificial tree. Is it going to be a 10-year kind of thing that we can expect it to last 10 years? If it is, now we're talking $3,700 a year over the life expectancy. That doesn't sound as bad as if they tell us it's going to last 2 or 3 years, and now we're looking at $10,000 a year, plus the installation.
That kind of seems what the problem we've had, right, with Christmas decorations.
Yeah.
They just don't last very
No.
long.
So I would like to see, what it is. Now, I look at Enchantment, and they have that large tree, and that tree's been going. That tree came originally from Fox Valley Mall, donated it to Enchantment. And I know they've done some maintenance on it, but that tree's at least 10 years old because I've been sponsoring it for 10 years. So if we can get that kind of life expectancy, then it doesn't look quite as bad.
Is that the light string tree?
Yeah.
That big, that's programmable?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty
So
cool. Yeah.
that's been going on for, I know, at least 10 years. And then my other thought is as I mentioned in the last meeting, there's been a few individuals that have called me talking about the decorations downtown. And I'm wondering if we could try to do something similar to what Hartford has done, where they got donations to take care of the lights on the buildings. Maybe we could do something to get the community involved and do some kind of fundraising effort to support decorations downtown. Kind of ties in with the Blumen holidays. We bring all of that together. We also, I don't want to take away from Enchantment. I think ultimately it would be kind of cool if all of a sudden this went all the way to Enchantment and they fed each other. And we get people wanting to come to West Bend just to see all the lights.
Yeah, I don't think you could take away from Enchantment. I mean, people are
No,
going to do that no matter what. You're right.
That's a great
We did,
thing.
up in Barton, we did a fundraising drive for the trees that we ultimately planted and are going to decorate every year, and the drive is for the decorations and the planting and blah, blah, blah. And, with a thermometer thing that was very effective. Yeah, the community really gets in on that kind of stuff, so. If we did it specifically for like one specific item, if you did it just like help us put up the tree.
Want to buy the tree?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know years ago, too, we used to have a contest for best Christmas window, and it would tie into Winter on Main, and people would come down and then they would vote on it. And I don't know how you turn that into a fundraiser, but even when you're just talking about, businesses getting involved and see who has the best decorated Christmas window and have the community vote on it. It's just fun because at least then people are actively dressing up their area, and it makes people want to come down and check it out.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think my feeling is if we like the idea of a big tree, we don't know what size, why don't you talk to them and see what it could be to maybe scale it back a little bit. The other side is if you scale it back too far, then it's not going to have the impact and people aren't going to go, hey, did you see that tree in downtown West Bend? You should drive up there and check it out. So there's pros and cons both ways, but let's see what it would, if there's a way to scale the cost back, and most importantly, what's the longevity of it?
Okay, I can take the feedback to them. You'll have creative freedom over the tree too, I should have said, and it's on an annual basis, so that it fits in with whatever you'd want to do in Old Settlers Park. Maybe that is something where the scale back on the tree, the cost goes down, but now your destination, yeah, you're seeing the tree and that's your ultimate goal, but is whatever theme decorations you put up in Old Settlers in some way.
Okay. Maybe have them give us ideas of that. We can look towards the future.
Okay, I'll come back with some stuff, and if you'd like them here to present, they can. Otherwise, we can stick with the same way we're discussing right now.
Okay. Item 5, introduction of potential downtown historic district. You want to do that, Adam, or you want me to?
Sure, I can start, and then if you want to jump in, this shouldn't take long, though. Dr. Dinah Patakis of the Wisconsin National Historical Society walked around downtown with Jay and I. Would have been November. It was cold, and we walked all up and down downtown, talked about the historical significance of our downtown, and then explored the idea of what it would take to become a historic district. Peggy, I think my first week on the job, you said, I want to know what this would take too. So it's still ongoing. She came up with a boundary around an area in downtown that could be considered an historic area, historic district. It came in and presented in a more informal way. Mike has met her, and then next stages would be to bring her to the bid and let everybody ask questions about what is this historic district, what does this mean for us, what are the benefits, what are the cons, what are you seeing? So, Mike, if you have any other thoughts.
No, the interesting thing to me was, from what I can see on the front end, there doesn't appear to be any downfall of it because the building owners can get tax credits to do upgrades. What I was shocked to find out is there's a number of buildings within the downtown that wouldn't qualify, and they would be exempt from being a historic, having the ability to get the tax credit. So for example, my building, so I'm basically 2 buildings, so half of my building would qualify for the tax credits, the other half would not. Peggy, yours would.
Is it based on age?
No, it's based on age, and it's based on what you did to the building. So if my building, instead of me putting the foam ephes and the brick down below, if I would have left the ugly aluminum that was put on in 1955, it would have stayed as a historic building because that was to that time period. But because I took all that off, that eliminates the building from being historic. And it's more of the upper half. If it's a 2-story building, it's more of what is up above versus what the storefront is, because they know storefronts are going to change. So it was very interesting from that standpoint, but the other side is the question I had was, okay, so if I do this project on my building and I get $100,000 in tax credits, what do I do with the tax credits? And there's organizations that buy the tax credits and resell them. So if you get $100,000 in tax credits, you could sell them to somebody for $95,000, and the building owner would get the $95,000. They would lose $5,000 to the reseller, but you get your money to do your project. So there was a number of us in the room from all parts of the community to kind of evaluate this. And I think it would be worthwhile to have her come and talk to this group. I wouldn't put a lot on that agenda or have a special meeting, because I think that could take an hour in itself, just listening to her presentation and then asking questions.
Well, I think with all the renovations that they're doing on the theater, and there's a lot of significant older buildings down there. I mean, it's a quaint downtown. If we could pull off it actually being legitimately historic, I know when I first started in it, one of the things we were looking to do was if we could set some sort of ordinance to when we were trying to look at some of those buildings that were in such despair, could we create an ordinance to make the building owner fix it? And as a historic downtown, we could, but as a non-historic downtown, we couldn't. But then again, it might pertain particularly, like you said, to each individual building.
Yeah, so if everybody's in favor of it, she's willing to come, I think, the next meeting, right?
Yeah.
Yep, it'll be in August.
So, I don't know your thoughts, Adam, but you were in that meeting, just from a time frame. I don't think we should have a lot on the agenda other than that if we want to give it the time that it needs.
No, yeah, we should keep it a lighter agenda because there will be a lot of questions. It's a very heated topic at times too, because people say, get your hands off my building, and then they need to come in and explain, well, this isn't really what we're doing. And, there's some explanation to those questions that could take a while. I didn't want anybody to be surprised that we're coming in and saying, hey, here's a historic district, and I don't want anybody to think that, hey, we're pushing in a historic district onto our downtown. That's not what's happening. This is just the next stage in discussion, and it can stop at any time, or we can keep pushing forward and know what the next step is then. But, yeah.
The other thing that was interesting is she did a boundary, and it's within the bid, but it doesn't cover the whole bid. And I forgot what her explanation of that was, but she had a reason of why it was what it was. So for example, Wayne, I know it doesn't go to you.
The map that's included here? No.
I don't think it does. Maybe she extended it again, I don't know, because we had the conversation about, why can't it hit, Apple Barrel for sure, because that would be a historic building, but, those are the kind of things that have to be talked about, and she would establish that. The state establishes the boundary, not us. And there's certain guidelines to do it. So if everybody thinks it's a good idea, I think we should get her here and at least have her present.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Sounds good. So with that, we get to agenda items for the next meeting. I think we need to keep it light. Maybe if we can add the holiday decorations, because that's going to be important. I don't know if there's anything else that absolutely has to be on the agenda.
Just wondering, Adam, if had you met with the ladies based on the new entrepreneur program at all?
Correct. We discussed it, and I gave them some materials. I have an application that's being finalized to be sent out, just making sure that we're not setting ourselves up legally for just making sure we're covered in that sense.
Yeah.
And
Okay, so that might just be a very quick topic, but we may have a good candidate for the new entrepreneur program that the bid put together, which I think would be great.
that's another thing too. We'll have to discuss that. Would it be possible to do a task force meeting to set up a selection committee for this? We talked about possibly going in front of the entire bid or not, but based off of the amount of applications that we might be getting at one time and having to review at one time, you may want it as a separate.
I guess I would propose your committee do the initial selection, and then you could bring your top 2 or 3 to the bid.
I'm okay with that, yeah.
Okay, so then we'll set up a task force meeting that would review applications and take it for the selection. Okay.
So the question is, if there's too much to be on, if we have a lot on the agenda, I think we should do a separate meeting for the historic.
That could work, because a lot of people downtown would probably want to know about this. It might even be worth it to send out a special invite to everybody and make sure everybody really knows, hey, we're talking about a historic district. Make sure you're down here if you have your questions and that.
So if we do that with the group that's here, are there any days that work better than others?
For August?
Yeah.
No, but maybe we could have it at the Historical Society.
No, we're not having a meeting there again. We can't hear anything in that room.
Mondays are best for me, just for whatever that's worth.
And I can pretty much make anything work, so, Adam, maybe why don't you see what she's available? I mean, I don't even know, do we do it at night? You know, do it as a night meeting where people are closed?
That could be a possibility. I'll check with everybody's schedules here and hers, and then find a spot downtown where we can gather, if you would prefer.
Well, that or just have it here.
Or just here. Here's great.
You don't know how many people are gonna show up, so I would suggest we just do it here. We got all the projection equipment and everything to do it.
Yeah, that works out a lot better. Okay.
Okay. So nothing else, I'll make a motion, or ask for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Gotta have a first first.
Mo-
Oh, I thought you were making it.
No, I said I'm asking for a motion.
Motion
and
to
second,
end the
all in
meeting.
favor?
Second, yeah. All right.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great 4th.
There's stuff that happens. Yeah, oh, I believe it. And actually, like, the apartment above our space has a huge outdoor living patio, and it'd be a great spot. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'll keep pushing for money. So, if you guys bring it out, all I can do is motion, but I'll keep trying.
I appreciate it. So yeah. It's like, it would be the perfect place to go and watch fireworks. Yeah.